got this section here marked search, and this is widget title, and it's under search. So we've got the widget container here for search under ID search. So let's see what we've got here for ID search, if we've got anything. Not really. We've got some redone stuff. So we should be able to put in a background for search. So let's start with just a really rough background by doing the ID of search. Actually, we can copy and paste again. And the images this time are going to be icons. Okay, I know this isn't going to work, and that's fine, because that's a whole icon file we're loading in there. But let's take a look and see what it looks like. Okay, so this is ugly. This is not what we want to happen at all. But I don't mind this kind of moving over a little and having space for that. So we've got the search is actually the second one. That's part of the issue. We don't want to show anything beyond that. We have some issues with transparency that we'll have to deal with. So let's start with that. So there's several possible solutions to this problem. One of them would be to create divs that are just 35 by 35. One of them would be to stack the icons vertically and make sure they were limited that way. I'm going to use a lazy way because lazy is always good, and I'm going to just space out the icons. So if the problem is that they're all crowded in that space, why not just have a whole bunch of white space next to them? So I've gone in and I've moved these out so that they are 200 pixels apart. So if there was a column that was more than 200 pixels wide, we still have a problem. But since we know that this is less than 200 pixels wide already, we can say, let's just do white space. Now you might say, okay, that's fine, but haven't we made this a much larger file by going from a 350 pixel wide image to a 2500 pixel wide image? And the fact is no, that for PNG it requires very, very little space to store this empty space, this white space. And so this doesn't actually increase the size of this image very much at all. It goes from from 4.5K all the way up to almost 5K. So it's a nothing image in terms of size here. So what does that do for us? Well, if we save this, upload it, and bring it back up, now we've just got one icon there instead of a bunch. Now we still have it overwriting. We need to move over the search tag. So how are we going to do that? Well, we'll take a look at the style sheet. There's the search piece. If we add in some padding, that should give us, remember the padding doesn't apply to the background, just to the stuff that's actually in it. So if we bring in a little bit of padding, say 15 pixels, and maybe 2 pixels. So the 15 pixels is at the top. Remember, it's like a clock. So when we do only these two, it does 15 pixels up, 15 pixels down, 2 to the right, 2 to the left. It kind of fills in the rest of the clock for us if we only do the first two items. So let's save that and see what it looks like. Okay, we've spaced it up a little, but we haven't really moved it out yet. We also need to make these larger, I think, and we can deal with that here in a second. How are we going to do that? Well, we need to see what it is first. So let's track it down here. This is a label and I guess we could focus on the labels, but I'm not sure they're all labels. It's inside an H3, so maybe one of the ways we approach this is using, there we go, aside H3. So right now aside H3 is determining the size of the pixels, so we'll want to deal with that as well. So let's try that. Go back here. We're going to add in a new one here for aside H3, and we're also going to increase the size. Cool. So we moved this out and this out, and we have the space for that icon to go. We could maybe make it less than 35, maybe 33 would be good. I'll go ahead back and do that on the next pass. But let's also go ahead and put the one in here for Twitter. Let's see what this one we know was search, the LI class. So what's this LI? It's RSS4 right there, if you take a look. So we need to add in something very similar between search and RSS4. I'm going to take this down to say 32 to tighten that up a little. But I'm also going to bring in, well, it's going to look very much like search, but it's going to be RSS4. Okay. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to skip this showing you this, but of course we brought in the same background exactly, so it's going to show that little magnifying glass. What we need to do is include the horizontal at negative 200 pixels and the vertical at 0 pixels. 0 is 0 no matter whether it's pixels. That shifts the background over by 200. So let's give a try to that. And there it is. There's our little tweet. We could actually close that up even further if we want. As long as we're here, let's go ahead and take care of this. We've got that underlining which just gets in the way. Let's go ahead and get rid of that real quick. So this is RSS4, and this is the list inside of RSS4, and this is an A within that list. So you'll see there's the list, and here's a list item, and there's the A within the list. So let's just do it for those so that we're not doing anything weird with the rest. We'll make it just a little bit bigger maybe. No, we'll just make him a little bit bigger and get rid of the underlining. So to do that, we'll create a new rule, and this is for RSS4 as well, but in this case for list item A's. We need to make sure we're doing the list item A's, otherwise it'll catch the title, which is also actually a link. And we're going to get rid of the underlining, and we'll also increase the font size a bit. Cool. I might want to get rid of those bullet points. I'll have to think about that a little bit. I'm still not sure. Alright, and at this point this is old hat. It should be easy enough to do the archives. We can just, in fact, do a bit of cut and paste. We paste, but it's not RSS4 in this case. Now we're looking for, to figure out what this section is, it's archives 2. So we replace it with archives 2. And it's still icons, but now we're at 400 across. Now we have the archives. So I have my little icons there. You'll notice there are a bunch of other icons. I'm going to use those down here. I'm actually going to, for things that are not the first article, I'm going to push them in a little and say what category they're part of, whether it's research or family or teaching or whatever. So I'm going to do that kind of as side work without showing you what it is, but the process is very similar to this. I'm just going to kind of move this stuff over a little. I'm going to go into the system to stop it from, so that it does excerpts of this rather than the full article. And then I'm going to have it move it over just a little bit and put the category marker there so that we know what category it is. But basically that's the core of the visuals for what we're doing here. Nothing too fancy. Again, this isn't a very visual site, but it's the little things that actually count. I mean, most people will not even really think about these small icons. They really kind of should fade off into the distance. The one thing we're missing so far that's really important is our menu. And once we've added that in, we're pretty close to done with the way it should look. There's still some fine-tuning to do, but the basic core is all pretty much set at this point. All right, thanks.